Yeah, I grew up Baptist, and it was like they call themselves like fundamental Baptists. It's like an extreme version of being like Southern Baptist, and so like women cannot wear pants. They cannot like you cannot go to like concerts or listen to like what they consider worldly
Yep.
music, um, and you just had to like separate yourself from the world completely. You had to like look different than the world, just because they didn't want people to think that you were of the world. It was I don't know.
Yeah,
It's extreme.
it is. It is. But that was Baptist though.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that before. So I don't know. I think
Well,
there's probably different types of Baptists
there's
and
definitely different types of Baptists. Like there's Southern Baptist. There's I
yeah.
think just Baptist. Like
Maybe that's
Southern
what I'm used to
Southern
hearing.
Baptist is like more like I don't know. It's like more gospel in
Yeah.
a sense.
That's what I picture is like, people with the long draped
Yeah.
things and, singing and
Yeah.
happy and standing up, in church.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like if you go to African American church,
Yeah.
it's like that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
People are like yelling and like
hmm
praise God, like praise Jesus, like
Yeah. I've always wanted to go to one. I don't know why. I
to an
just,
African American church.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it would
Or
be
just
wild.
a Baptist one because I
Yeah.
don't know if it's just, what we see portrayed on the movies, but they just look fun.
Mm.
Yeah, and I'm a believer in God. I don't go to church all the time. I don't like to say that I'm religious, but I personally believe in God.
So,
It would,
so what kind of church do you go to when you do go to church?
so I grew up Catholic. So when I go to church, it's a Catholic church. But honestly, there's been another church here in my area that I live in DeWitt. So
Oh, okay.
there's a non-denominational church and stuff. I think for me, it's just about hearing the word and like that. That's what I want.
Right.
It's nothing that I've actually really touched on, so it's kind of funny when I get asked, like, "Whoa, what did you grow up being?" And it's like, but I think for a lot of Latinos, like especially in Mexico, predominantly most are going to be Catholic. So
Yeah.
my parents are very involved in the church.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sure. Are they from Mexico?
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
from Mexico. They're from Oaxaca. It's a state in southern Mexico on almost on the coast, right? Like so Mexico kind of looks like a hook. That's what I like to describe it as. So it's like on the butt part of the hook. That's the best way I can describe it. But they actually have like a big African Mexican like descent population, which not a lot of people know about that, and I don't think that's like something that's taught in history
Why?
books.
Why is that?
Like why there is.
Yeah. Why is
Um,
there a huge descent population?
so they just immigrated over there. I am gonna be honest, and I don't really know like the history behind it. But there's quite a big like population. I mean, they look African American, but they'll speak to you in Spanish.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So it's cool, and they're a lot of them will wear like the traditional clothing that Mexicans wear, and especially for the state of Oaxaca. So I think it's cool. I think it's just cool how like history kind of takes you on these different whirlwinds that you don't really expect. So and it brings people together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the Hispanic culture is one of the most accepting cultures as far as like bringing other people in.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I've noticed.
yeah. I agree.
Because I'm like an outsider. Like I told you, I'm Hispanic. However, I grew up pretty much just being Caucasian.
Yeah.
Like I was adopted into a white home, like no like Hispanic heritage at all.
Okay.
And then after I found my family, they were extremely accepting. They brought me in. They just like I was always part of the family.
Yeah.
Like and they're just so accepting of anybody and everybody.
Yeah. And it's crazy, right? Because sometimes I don't think, at least not when I was growing up, I didn't really think about identity or like self awareness. Who am I? Those type of questions until you go through different things in life. And for me, recently, obviously, with what I do, I'm a real estate agent, but I think for me and why I love what I do is because I feel like I'm helping people. And the fact that I can do it in both English and Spanish, and I think that obviously is a big tie to like how I grew up. I grew up with I was a first generation Mexican American. My parents came, as immigrants. They came illegally over 30 years ago now,
Wow.
and they've had to adapt to a whole different country. Which you hear about it all the time, but like when you see it and you see the obstacles that your parents faced, it's almost like for me, I feel like I am getting like a do over through the clients that I have because a lot of them have similar obstacles or did before, or they are just clueless. And sometimes I'm helping people that also don't have the documents to back them. For them to be here legally.
Right. I never even thought about that.
Yep.
what kind of things did your parents face coming over here that
Uh,
you witnessed?
that I witnessed, oh, like discrimination for sure. And then, sometimes it wasn't so blunt, not like how you picture it. Like you didn't always have to be like necessarily like rude people or like Karen type of things, which I've seen that. But it's more of like people kind of being surprised too, like when my parents can speak English and they expect them not to be able
Oh,
to, because they have thick accents. My dad has definitely been forced more to learn it because of the type of work he does. He works in auto manufacturing, and my mom more so has been like the caretaker for us, for me and my siblings. So she has a thicker accent and stuff, and I feel like they never felt accepted by society because of that. Because they're looked at like, okay, you don't know English even though you have an accent, but you can understand them. Like they have full blown conversations with people, and I just think because they've had those experiences that they don't feel accepted. They limit themselves because of that. Because they feel self conscious, like, well, this
right.
person's not gonna understand me, or even in work life experiences where they feel like they might not get another job, like I've always told my dad, like, to push him to, because he's had the experience to go into supervisor type positions, but he doesn't feel like people would take him serious because he has an accent. So
Right.
it's crazy, how
Do you know
that.
what's so funny about that is people with accents, like they look at it as like like debilitating thing. Like I had a girl who was from Germany. She was a news anchor or a news reporter for WLX or something like that. I can't remember what now. Maybe it was WLNS. I don't remember. Anyways, she came on to tell her story. She had an accent, and yeah, it was. I'm like, I love the accent.
Yeah.
And she's like, I hate the accent.
What
Like,
is her name, actually?
Louisa.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna say Araceli because
No.
I've seen her do her reports, but I got
Okay.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was Louisa, and I think she has gone back to Germany since. Um, but yeah, they look like people with accents in the United States look at it as like a debilitating thing because they stand out from everybody else, and they're not taken
Yeah.
serious. People look at them like, oh, well, you're not one of us,
Hmm.
and so I understand that.
Yeah. Or a negative thing. And it's funny because a lot of times that will come from people like themselves who have the accent. Nobody else is saying that. But again, I don't know. Is that like what society has done? To
Well, I also think it has something to do with like where you are geographically too, because like I grew up in West Palm Beach till I was 9, and where I grew up, there was a large Hispanic population. So like seeing like Hispanic people all the time,
yeah.
being around them, like you don't necessarily think about it.
Yep.
And whereas like Lansing, Michigan, like what are we predominantly?
Hmm.
Like there's probably not I mean, there is a large like Latino community,
Yeah.
but it's not as large as like other communities.
Right. Yeah. No, I think more so in the recent years. I don't know about you, but I have noticed a big Latino population. I want to say about 90%. And maybe that's being kind of reserved, but like of the clientele that I have is either Latino or native Spanish speakers.
Wow.
Yep. So I'm seeing this influx of a lot of Cubans, which I love diversity, because Latinos, we represent so much more. And if you want to break it down, really like Hispanic heritage, which, kind of brings us to why we're here. But we're just so many more cultures than Mexico. And I love learning about that. I'm a foodie. So anything that I can do to learn about, other cultures,
Are
other
you
food.
truly Mexican if you're not a foodie?
No, no. I think that should be written somewhere, in bylaws or something. Yep, yep. No. I would say that, and actually, I don't know if you know this, but if you ever have the chance to go to Oaxaca, like I truly recommend it to everybody. And I don't think that is from a bias standpoint. I just think like gastronomy, like the food, it's so rich in culture, just in general. Like I mean, there's pyramids and stuff there that like you need to actually be there to experience it. And if you want to go anywhere in Mexico where you want to experience and like true culture, like that is somewhere where I would recommend.
How are they like I mean, I know that you said that they're accepting of other people, but like if tourists were to go down there, what is how are they perceived by the people that live there? Are they
Well,
like, oh, these stupid Americans?
no. I think they're used to it. I mean, they help the economy there,
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a big part of their economy. I think it's almost normal, and it's funny because my godmother, she was obviously from Oaxaca, And she's a doctor there, and she ended up marrying a a white guy, and he's like from Louisiana, I believe. But it's just funny because he was an English teacher there, so he was there teaching English, and that's how they met because she was one of his students. But obviously that was after they were out of that. What do I call
that situation?
Yeah, that whole situation. We'll call it that. So yeah, it's just funny. No, but he lives there now.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was my point of it. It's because he lives there now, and I mean they had a child together. They're no longer together, but they get along great. They travel and stuff. So, yeah. My point is that Americans are very accepted, not even just Americans. I've seen a lot of Asians, and a lot of Indians there too. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Now, what made you want to put together this 517 Hispanic Heritage Weekend?
So I want to shout out Hezekiah Trevino and Mikey Austin because they're the main organizers of it. They were kind of the ones that pulled people in. They wanted to be very strategic about who was a part of the committee. Obviously for me, they knew my background, and I think that was why they wanted me to, kind of assist them in bringing the authentic part of it, right? Because we have a big population here that is Mexican, but they're...
Do you know what the population is? Like how many people?
No, I don't. I was trying to look up like census information, so I will have to get back to you on that because I'm very curious too.
I'll see if I can look it up.
Yeah. Yep. So, yep. And they pulled us in, the different people in different industries. For me, obviously, I see a lot of the community because I'm active in it. But the reason they wanted to do something is because there's just nothing that celebrates the Hispanic culture. So I don't think that's another thing that I want to educate people on too, is like the difference between Hispanic and Latino. Latino, you're talking about all Latin countries. But Hispanic is anything, with Hispanic, like basically anywhere that speaks Spanish. Think of a country that speaks Spanish that are considered Hispanic.
Like Spain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So when we break it down, there was nothing that celebrates them here in the Lansing area. And when you think of Michigan, the capital should have something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have to go to Grand Rapids. We have to go to Detroit.
Well, Grand Rapids has a big one.
Yeah. No, they're huge. My mom, because she has her own business, she is a vendor at these types of events. So, like, that's how I find out about it. Like, Grand Rapids has what is it called? I want to say it's the Hispanic Festival of Grand Rapids. But it's held right in their downtown area, and it's so well organized because it's a beautiful thing to see Latinos come together. I mean, you see like Cubans, they're so proud porting their, the Cuban flags, and that goes for everybody. Dominicans there too, and they have these live bands that play salsa, merengue, bachata. It's a beautiful thing to be in a place that like something brings us together, our culture. They can be different, but all the while, like, we have all faced struggles, and that's kind of what unites us, and just our love for dancing and culture and food.
Yeah. So currently, people of Hispanic and Latino descent make up over 12% of the total Lansing population, according to the U.S. Census Bureau.
That's crazy. When was the last census done? Does it say?
Let's see here. I wonder what like compared to other cities, like where we're at.
Yeah. Well, especially compared to like Grand Rapids and
right.
Detroit. Yeah, where they have these big communities, which is actually why I have become so passionate about having something structured and organized, and that's what we're working on. So that's why when I was more than happy when they reached out. I was actually very honored. Because these are people that I don't know if you know this, but Mikey Austin, he was the founder of Juneteenth Festival here in Lansing. So he's definitely somebody you're going to want to talk to. Yep.
Yeah, I'll have to take his name.
Yep.
I don't know when it was.
Because I think it's done every 10 years, right? So I was just curious when the last one was done.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't say.
Yep. It's kind of funny. While you see if you can look that up.
2020, I believe.
2020. Yeah, so that wasn't that long ago. But it's crazy. Things change every year.
10,308.
10,308.
Yeah.
I'm sure that has grown recently.
I'm sure it has.
Yeah. No, it's beautiful. I have personally had the time to, obviously, because I'm, reaching out to people and being, reaching out to Latino business owners here in the area. So me being a foodie, I feel like that gives me a great, what do you call it, almost excuse to stop by at different places and try different things here. So I am very familiar with the Latino business owner population here.
Yeah.
And I hear the same things. So that goes to my next event, and which is what I am one of the main organizers there. Me, St. Paul Benavides, and Elena Herrera. We actually started at a meeting that we held at Maria's Cuisine. Again, we're always trying to support our community. I think it's very important to be conscious about where you're putting your hard work, worked money.
Yeah.
So this just was born because we're business owners. At the end of the day, like, I have to run my own business. There's several parts. There's things that I've had to learn on my own, but it would have been easier if there was like an organization, almost like a chamber of commerce or, a business organization for Latinos. Just because you have a sense of like belonging to something, right?
You have a community.
Yes.
Yeah.
But somewhere that it's almost like a resource. Like, okay,
Right.
you've been through this, you've already built your business, like people that you can ask, like even stuff like what kind of equipment should I have? For me, for my real estate business, like I didn't know that, I could have a bookkeeper, I could hire it, like, or if
I've seen that you recently got one.
Yes.
A bookkeeper.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's Elena Herrera. She was actually one of the organizers of the Latino Expo that we're having on October 7th, which I want to invite you to if you were already planning on attending that, and the 517 Hispanic Heritage Festival. They're going to be dope events. We have a really good lineup for both, actually. So I'm very excited that so many people were on board. And the reason that I'm so excited is because I think people are seeing, the need for that, and they see the need also for Latinos to come together in the sense of business owners. I don't think people realize that there are so many of us.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize it until honestly you posted it. You said you posted something on, I think it might have been the 517, and you're like looking for Hispanic business owners for, I think, the 517 Hispanic Heritage event.
Yes.
And I seen the list and I'm like, wow, there's so many.
There's a lot.
I've never heard of most of them.
And that's only the ones that, had commented. I can't imagine the people that, didn't get to see the post. So that is the kind of the journey that we're on. The mission is that we are, in the future are going to be able to offer these types of resources where there's going to be like workshops for business owners on how to hire an employee, how to retain an employee, how to, and do it also where, because a lot of these business owners are native Spanish speakers. So that's another thing.
Right.
Language barrier is such a big thing in the community. And there's just a lack of it. And what I do, I think there's, off the top of my head, probably 5 or less Spanish-speaking like agents that I know of.
Wow. So that puts you like up at the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of become that, but obviously because I have to put myself out there, for what I do to generate, clients. But also, I think it helped that, my parents, where my mom sits, and my parents are just known in the community as it is. So I don't know. It's been a blessing. I definitely, I like to think that I'm where I am because people see the good in somebody. And when they know that you're being genuine and you're helping them with them, something, you're making a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's what I feel like when I'm
Absolutely. And that's what people want at the end of the day. They want somebody that's genuine, somebody that's real, somebody that actually cares.
Yes.
Not somebody who's like one of the most frustrating things is like when you go to buy a car and somebody's like just trying to push the sale.
Yeah.
And instead of like actually like trying to figure out what your needs are, like what do you want, like, and then not be pushy about it.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's the same way when somebody buys a house. Like they don't want somebody who's going to just be like, yeah, this would work for you. This would be a great location and everything. Like, no, they need something that is close to work, something that's close to their schools, like somebody who understands their struggles. Yes. And that's important.
It is. And it's funny because we're talking about Latino, like real estate agents and, Spanish speaking agents, but also just like the lack of good options for good real estate agents, because there's hundreds that you could choose from. You know? But then you have to kind of show why you should work with me. And for me, the way that I make myself stand out is honestly like being engaged with the community, because that's how I know what the necessities are. In homeownership comes like so many other topics that are like the lack of access to that knowledge like exists. So for example, like credit. I've run into that with a lot of my clients that come from other countries. Like they didn't know that they like how to build credit here or
So
like the importance of it.
when you come from another country,
Yeah.
your credit start at zero essentially.
It's
You have
almost
no
like,
credit.
yeah, you don't have anything really.
Wow.
You have to start from like nothing.
So when somebody comes from another country, like let's say Mexico,
Yeah.
they're trying to become a citizen. What is that process? And like
To
how?
become a citizen?
Well, obviously we know what the process is to become a citizen, but like what all does that entail, and how difficult is it to integrate into society?
It's so difficult.
Like buy obviously buy a house and
Yeah.
like I mean because you have no credit, so
Yep.
like what do you do?
Well, you're running into that, and a lot of people aren't finding that out until they're here, right? Because you need housing, you
Right.
need a job,
Because even apartments sometimes you need credit to
you
get
need
it.
that, yeah, or a background check. And if you're new
Right.
here, like then you really don't have any references, so that brings a whole, other issues, Um, yeah, just housing is a big need, and I see that for any minorities, especially. But obviously, because that's what I see on a daily basis. Yeah, it's crazy. I can't picture what my parents went through when they first came over to the United States. Actually, they first started in Florida because they were migrant workers. So that's my
Yeah.
my background, as far as them, and I'm proud of talking about that because I
What's
actually
wrong with talking about that?
well, because I feel like some people would be embarrassed, and it's funny to say
What?
that out loud, but like, yeah, even though we don't look at it like that because it's a part of your journey. Um, for me, I'm proud of that because I come from humble beginnings. So if you were to see the towns that my parents came from, like I know why they left.
Right.
Now they are one of the successful people that made it out of those pueblos, is what we call them, towns. But
But that's like the beautiful story
it
of
is,
like the American dream, right?
yeah,
You start off in this position where you don't have anything and you work from the bottom to the very top.
yeah,
Like, yes, those positions that you're in absolutely suck, but that's what kind of defines who you are as a person. And that's what
yeah,
makes you strive to want to be successful, especially if you have a family.
hmm,
Um,
yeah,
that's like, I mean, literally the story of rising above, like becoming better, becoming a better
yeah,
person. And yeah, that's the American dream. That's what everybody strives to be. And
yeah,
that's probably what every Latino, every immigrant who comes to America wants. Like
yeah.
they don't mind starting. I mean, I don't want to say they don't mind, but they're willing to start in that position because they hope for a better future.
Yeah, they're willing to make those sacrifices.
Right.
Yep, and they knowingly do so.
Yeah.
Some people end up losing their lives trying to make that happen. Because we know that people try to cross illegally, even still now.
Yeah.
Now it was probably easier back then when my parents were coming here. But even then, like you have to start from like the bottom of the barrel and
Right.
build your way up. Like I said, they started as migrant workers, and then somehow at that point, the auto industry was very booming. Obviously, this was in late 1980s. And my dad happened to find a good job that he
Wow.
could do because it's still manual labor at the end of the day.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's kind of how they got into a position where they were able to be a little bit more stable. And then they ended up in Lansing. In the Latino community, even then, they will tell you that that was like almost non-existent.
I
Like they
believe
just
it.
started seeing an influx, years
Wow.
after years, which has been great because they've been able to build a sense of community within Spanish speakers, native Spanish
Yeah.
speakers.
And kind of be at the center of it too.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would be like to have to come here not knowing anybody or anything, the language or anything, and then just try to build try to build a life.
a life.
That'd be so difficult. Like even just simple tasks of going to like a bank or going to a store and not having somebody understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, I tell my parents all the time the things as when the amount of stuff that I have to explain to my clients, and it's like for me, it's so important to educate them about every single thing because it's gonna do me more good if they understand the whole process, not me just having them trust me. Because I mean, that's a big part of it, right? They trust me as their agent that I'm gonna look out for their better interests, but also explaining like what this entails. Like, okay, um, for example, if you were to default on your lending, even though I'm not the lender, but I need to be able to explain that to them. Like, okay, this is a big commitment. Like,
Right.
it's probably going to be for the 30 years. I would say so with the Latino community, they like to look at it in that sense. Like I'm going to be here for 30 years,
Mm,
it, and that's how important and a big step, owning a piece of property is here. Like that's most people's wealth.
right.
that's
Yeah.
where their equity is.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is most people's wealth.
Yeah. Yep. So, and obviously me being able to educate them, like when we're looking at houses, like, okay, what can we do here? Like, you know, that's going to add value. So maybe 5 years from now, your life is going to look a little bit different. You might outgrow your home and then you want to sell it. So then, you know, putting you guys in a better position so that you guys can make money off of this.
I know that you talked about having this what was that event called, or this program for people to be able to be educated, Hispanics to be educated. But have you thought about like possibly doing like courses for like home ownership and like for the Latino community?
I actually did one last year. That was more, I want to call it like a workshop / seminar that I did with a Spanish speaking lender. Obviously I touched base on the whole buying process, and he touched over the lending process, like how to apply for a mortgage. But he also did, again, going back to the lack of knowledge on how to build credit, because that is such an important thing. Because coming from Mexico, and I'm talking about Mexico because this is what I know, right, directly, the mindset is to not owe. Like, it's a big thing. You don't want to owe, you know, any type of debt. And even though here you have to have credit, that's almost like you have to have some sort of debt and show that you are able to pay them, make those payments. That's how you build your credit. There, no, like, and even having a bank account, again, going to the issues that some people are scared of banks. They don't trust them.
Right.
Because you have to have a social security, like stuff like that. So I'm sure there's a lot of people, more than, you know, than would like to admit, that have their savings account just at home, which is a scary thing.
It is scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you have a fire or something, that's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, credit's a crazy thing because we refinanced a few years ago, and in order to refinance, I paid off a credit card, had no debt. And they're like, yeah, you need to like rack up that balance a little bit. You need to put money on that credit card. Like, really? Yeah. So I had to it was literally like $115 and like 13 cents.
Yeah.
I had to keep it at that.
Yeah.
Just so like it boosted my credit just a little bit.
What?
Yeah. So I could get a better interest rate.
And these were the lenders telling you that?
This was the bank. Or the mortgage company.
And that's counterintuitive, right? Because they don't usually, you have to have like less than 30% is what they don't want you to use more than that.
Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. I don't even know. Yeah, it was so ridiculous. Like the card was paid off, but they wanted just a little bit on there to show that like I still use it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's weird.
It's counterproductive sometimes. I feel like some stuff doesn't make sense. So when we're up there and we're supposed to be the experts and trying to explain it, they're like, "Wait, what?" You know, because they're just looking at us, you know, to have all the answers to that. And I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not the one. That's one of the things that I find very confusing to try to explain to people from other countries where you just pay what you have. That's why a lot of people you see that they're living within their means.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Well, I mean, honestly, that's a better way to live.
Yeah.
You know, but this freaking government wants you to be in debt, and it's an unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
So.
I feel like, I don't know. I don't think we've fully figured everything out on that sense. So I'm hoping that, you know, as these generations progress, so we're able to do something. So, which is why I'm so excited to see the, you know, people our age that are getting involved with the community and what you're doing. This is huge. This is healing for a lot of people, being able to tell their story, you know, and say what they're doing with their life, essentially. You know, this probably for me, and that's why I was so excited, is because it's the first time I've ever been able to tell anything and like feel heard.
Right. So, yeah. I mean, for a lot of people, this podcast has been a platform for them to share their story for the very first time. And just like you, like Shamber, she came on and shared her story of growing up in foster care, which was awesome. But what was cool about like Shamber is she came on, shared her story. She was at the time married, like she had a house, like she was living this life, like she was a personal trainer here in Lansing. And then and then like a year later, she's divorced and she's like found somebody else. She's moved to Grand Rapids, and I'm like, what is going on? And so like I reach out to her because, you know, I follow her on social media, and I'm like, you should come back on. We should talk about this. And she came back on and shared her story of like how like, I was there, but then like things didn't work out, but now I'm even happier, and like my life is better. And like so like that was kind of a cool experience to witness.
It is. Me knowing Shamber personally, she is such a strong person, and she is a firm believer in obviously she knows who she is and where she stands with her faith. I just look up to her because, I mean, for so many reasons, but her being able to tell her story, like, especially one like that, of what she went through, me hearing that, like, in knowing her personally again, like, she's so resilient, and I love her, and to be able to have a positive attitude after going through all of that, like, it's amazing. I love it.
And then, like, it's not just for the people that share their stories, it's for the people that actually do listen to them and can, like, identify, like, with how they feel.
Yeah.
Like, somebody might listen to your story and be like, wow, like, I'm looking for a house, or I'm from some country and I need help too. And so, like, that could inspire or help somebody else. Somebody hearing your story, like, affects so many other people.
Yeah.
And you don't even realize it.
Yeah. No,
it's like, once this is done, you're just like, kind of forget about it. But then somebody else listens to it, and they're like, wow.
Yes.
I've had so many people reach out and like, wow, I really like that story, or this story like really helped me, or even like somebody coming on and helps like connect other people too. Like, cause then they start talking.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
It's a conversation starter. That's the beauty of having conversations, right?
Yeah.
I love this though, because you're taking people from different perspectives, making different backgrounds. They live different lives, but finding commonalities, and talking about important topics. That for me, like, I feel like I'm making a difference, because again, I don't know who's listening out there, and I feel like if this can help one person, like, I've already done something good, in my life.
Right.
And I can't even quote it because I'm probably gonna mess it up. But Roberto Clemente, he says a quote that basically the gist of it is saying, if I don't do something to help this world and make a difference, then basically what was all my life worth? And I feel like that hits so deep, because I'm like, okay, that's the essence of what I'm doing. My avenue and the vehicle that I'm using to do that and make a difference is real estate. But essentially what I love is, and what I'm passionate about, is the fact that I feel like I'm making a difference in people's lives, making it easier for them, giving them the access, to feel like they're heard. A lot of these people, they've already had and, gone through things where they haven't felt heard before. So I like to feel like that I'm going to be there to listen and really look for your needs, because essentially a good real estate agent it should be a good listener, and shouldn't go based off your financial needs, but making them aware of what their needs are, or like where they are in life, financially. That's a big thing. I think numbers is always going to be a big thing.
Yeah, and educating is the biggest thing, right? Like,
a piece.
Because when you're a first time home buyer, like when we bought this home, we didn't know anything about the home buying process. Like, this is the first time we've ever done it. So, and then obviously coming from another country, not being able to speak English and not understand, the best of like the process of everything. Like, what? Why do I gotta sign all these papers?
Yeah. Or what am I signing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
there's a lot of small print.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Yes. Yep.
So like the whole process, like the education around that is very important. And if you're willing to provide that to somebody, that's extraordinary.
Yeah. And break it down. I think that's the biggest piece. Like I said, like I could give you a piece of paper right now, sign it, trust me, but what are you signing? You don't know.
Right.
Like, what are the stipulations of me signing? I'm accepting this house as is.
Right.
Which there's so much that I could dive into. There's so many rabbit holes to go down. But the biggest piece is just educating. I think you give people power when you educate them.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I feel like there's a lot of people that don't want other people educated. They just want you to just do it, and then you're stuck with this house, or you're stuck with this payment, you're stuck with in the system. Now, as far as like the Hispanic Heritage Weekend, what can people expect during that weekend? Like, what events will be happening?
Yeah.
When is it? Like, all that information.
Yep. So the 517 Hispanic Heritage Weekend is happening September 22nd to the 24th. Now, the 22nd, it's going to start off with that Friday is going to be like a networking mixer. But we've kind of planned it to tie around like dancing classes, because of course when you think Hispanic, you think music and dancing. So we're gonna have some dancing instructors from Livonia, Alejandro Aguro. He is amazing. I actually met him when I was a student at MSU, and I went to MSU like a salsa class there. So they're gonna be there teaching probably, I don't know what they're going to teach. So I'm excited to see what that is like. But we're going to have a DJ, and it's going to be kind of like a social, almost like people meeting each other, you know. And then Saturday we have, that's like the big day for us, because that's when we're going to close down the downtown Washington Loop. And we're going to have like food, obviously, vendors.
How many vendors do you have?
You know what? I don't know, because I'm not in charge of the list.
Yeah.
But I know that it was a lot of people that were signing up.
Was it like just a mix of different kinds of vendors, like
Yes.
clothing,
so it's
jewelry?
gonna be like resource, people too that are there too. Like, I know that I only know this, and I don't know if they're gonna be there for sure, but I know that I spoke to the Women Resource Center, and they were like very interested in being a part of it. Here in the Lansing area, but for sure I know Taqueria Monarca is going to be there. I don't know if you've had their tacos. They're really good. They're close friends of mine too.
What is it called?
Taqueria Monarca. They have like a big monarch butterfly. That's how everybody knows them.
Okay, where's it located?
So typically they're going to be located right off of, that's going to be Grand River, and in between MLK, and I forgot what that other street is on the other side. But basically kind of by the airport.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. There's a Sunoco gas station, and they're right there.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Grand River.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Yep. Anna and Mario, they own that food truck. And they opened, I want to say like 2 years ago, but they've been very successful. Again, It's beautiful seeing people that I know like being successful at what they do. So they're gonna be there. And then also, just off the top of my head, I know that we're going to have like a Touch of Frida boutique. That's actually my mom's business, going to be there. She's going to be selling her clothing.
Does she have a storefront?
No, not a storefront. We're working on that. I am trying to push her to do that again. It goes back to, how do you do that,
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Because she's done everything online, and she's been pretty successful. She does it online, and I want to say the last 2 years now, or last year and a half, she's been going to like vendor events. And she's doing been very well. I actually joked with her, because I was like, I seen her statements and stuff like that. I'm like, Mom, you're making more than I was when I was working at MSU. she is. So she's doing very well for herself, and I'm proud of her, because a lot of immigrants come with that mindset, like, I don't want to work for anybody else. So finding something that she loves, because she loves talking about our culture. And
that's one thing I find about immigrants, is that they work. Could be offensive, but they work harder than a lot of us Americans.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, my watch.
Yeah.
For some reason.
Say it louder for the people in the back. That's what they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So my family that came from Honduras, I have my first cousin. She lives in South Carolina. She opened up a cleaning business in South Carolina, like 3-4 years ago, and it's extremely successful. She grinds so hard, and then her mom, I believe, or no, her sister opened up a Hispanic restaurant. I don't know if it was like Mexican food.
Okay.
She's Honduran.
Okay.
But she
really?
opened, in Indianapolis, and that was extremely successful. She like married this Dominican guy, and they had these restaurants together, like a chain.
Oh, wow.
And then
what are they called?
I don't remember. I think it might have closed down. Like but I've never been there.
Okay, I was getting excited. I'm like, if I ever go there, I need to know like where I need to go. Yep.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't know. I think my dad was like saying that it's like a mix of like Mexican and like Dominican, and like maybe some Honduran. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, and it's cool to. And then my other uncle, who's from Honduras, has a landscaping business in Florida. Like, it's extremely successful. And it's like, these people have these American dreams, and they're not willing to just settle for just working for somebody. They want to strive to be better. They want to create a life for themselves, and they're extremely successful at it. And some of the hardest working people that you'll ever meet. Yeah,
no, I agree. Obviously, people might say that I'm biased, because I was raised by immigrant parents, but I've seen what they can accomplish. These people, I'm talking about the immigrants, and that goes for anybody that comes from a different country and makes a better life for themselves here. But like, they start from zero. Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter, that they're jumping over all these barriers. Language is the biggest one, because essentially when you see people coming over here, like, and especially people that have like degrees, and they're not able to do that here,
right?
Because they basically have to go back to school and do everything over again.
It doesn't transfer over.
Yeah, it doesn't transfer over, and then they have to start with these jobs that they don't need degrees for, and they're not getting paid. They're getting paid accordingly to that job.
Right.
So I don't know. It's just crazy to me. So I think immigrants, they come with the mindset again. They don't want to work for anybody. That's not the end goal for them, and that's how I think.
Yeah, and I think that it's also important to like note that like coming from another country and not being able to necessarily get a degree, but start a business and grind and like make it successful and just learn along the way is like something that isn't really talked about, because like you like here in America, you kind of get the you have the mindset of like you need to go to college and then maybe work for a business, get experience, and then maybe open up your own business. Like you need to have the experience, or like you need to like have the education in order to do something.
Yeah.
Whereas like you could just learn to do it.
Yeah.
And then learn from somebody who like has the experience.
Yes.
And just learn along the way.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why I'm excited for this expo, because we're going to have, and I can tell you a lot more about that because I'm a lot more hands-on on there. I like to say.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. So as I told you before, the mission of this is to gather people that, with the like-mindedness, they have a business. Okay. So they might be different businesses, but there's so much that they can learn from each other. And there's ways that they can collaborate that they don't even know, but like that can better their business. I was just talking with Saul, who is the owner of Taqueria El Chaparrito. I don't know if you've been there before. Oh my gosh, you need to go. You need to be a foodie if you haven't already been a foodie, but I'm telling you, you meet so many amazing people, and to hear their stories. So he was telling me that, like there's stuff that he didn't know when he was starting his business. Like he literally had no restaurant experience, and from one day to another, he was actually a general contractor, working construction, putting up drywall and stuff like that. He actually said, which I didn't know this, that he helped build the Acapulco that's in Frandor.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So he was a part of that, and at that point, he was actually starting to get that kind of idea. Like, I want a restaurant of my own.
He's like, I can do this. I can do it better.
Yeah, and he was never a cook or anything like that. But like, you don't need to do that, and that's the beauty of it. Like, you just have these minds. That's what entrepreneurs are. You just make it happen. You hire people who are good at it.
Right.
You pay them well, and then you're giving jobs. That's the beauty of what small business owners bring to the community here, and I think that's why it's so important, because they contribute so much more than I think people realize. Yeah. Or that the government realizes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, how many of your big major cities, like Los Angeles or Miami, like places like that, where typical like Hispanic people migrate to, are like how much of their economy is based on the Hispanic population? Probably the majority of it.
Yeah, especially because the population's huge over there.
Yeah. And it's like, how much? We obviously looked at the census. Who knows how accurate that is? But like, how much of our economy here in Lansing's dependent on that?
Yeah. Yep. Or just boil it down to like, how dependent are we on those skills? For people to have those skills and stuff. So, for me, I've really seen a need for these business owners that they and I'm sure you can figure out really quick that they need help with their social media. They don't know, and one of it is because like the technology barrier. They don't know how to. I don't know what to say. It's just grown so fast. It's developed over the last few years. Out of sudden, I remember teaching my parents how to text.
Wow.
Like that was a thing. And then now like you throw a computer at them, they're like, okay. They never had to use that when they were coming up in school. Everything was very old school, like not even I was gonna say dry erase board. They didn't have that. No, they had a chalkboard. That's how they learned, and they didn't have no projectors or anything like that. No. But yeah, there's a big need for social media people that are bilingual. That is key. Bilingual. We're seeing a big influx of people. And for me, when I worked at MSU, I worked for a department called Migrant Student Services. So that department focused on helping people, specifically students, obviously, with farm working backgrounds, whether it was them or their parents working in the fields. They were able to get access and the help to finish their bachelor's degree.
MSU brings in migrant workers?
So no, they bring in students.
Oh, okay.
With farm working backgrounds.
Oh, okay.
So that's how they became eligible for those programs.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So
okay, gotcha.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. One of the big programs though was camps. It was called Camp, and it starts. It's what is it called? The acronym is for College Assistance Migrant Program. I was actually a student through there, so it's kind of full circle when I ended up being the office manager for the big department that housed that program, because it was 5 different programs, but. the reason that I brought that up is that because they have, these students that come in. So we have the talent, and then we're seeing, a lot of them are bilingual. I would say
Right.
about 95% of them are bilingual, because there's also, you're seeing students that are from like Haitian backgrounds. I forgot what other nationalities we've seen there too, but majority is obviously Mexican. So we bring in that talent. Like, now how do we connect them to these small businesses? Like, they can help, because we, in this is a whole nother thing too. Like, we can teach them how to employ these people, like, on a contract basis, like 1099 contracting. Like,
Right.
I didn't know that was a thing until like a year ago.
Wow.
Really, yeah.
Wow.
And learning how they can do that. So
That's
yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So when do you plan on making this expo a thing?
And so it's a thing.
It's a thing.
Yep. It's planned for October 7th. It's gonna be 12 to 7. It's gonna be at the Lansing Mall. And a funny story, we actually chose the Lansing Mall. Well, I'll give credit to Zane, and if he listens to this, he's gonna laugh. But they have the MMA fights, in the Lansing Mall.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So do you know, like, Brown de Leon?
No.
Like, he puts up they're pretty much, it's his baby. But yeah, they put that, and they organize it, I want to say. I'm
What
like
is,
all
what
over
is
the
it?
place.
I'm
It's
sorry. No.
MMA fights there.
Yeah, but who is the person?
Ron de Leon.
Okay, who is he?
He has a lot of titles here, but I know him because he was actually one of my CATA bus drivers when I was on campus at MSU, and he's still a bus driver. But outside of that, he is, I want to say, a community leader, because everybody knows him.
Huh.
So he puts together and organizes MMA fights, cage fights.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So he's like the main organizer.
You have to connect me with him.
Yeah, yeah. Are you into that stuff?
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
I think, yeah. No, I've always wanted to go to one of them, because it's like pretty well organized, and there's a
Wow.
lot of people that show up.
Where do they do it there?
So I don't know the full details, because I've never been to one, but I know that it's inside the Lansing Mall. I know that they move stuff
Okay.
around.
Wow.
I'm assuming it might be like in one of the emptier wings that doesn't
Okay.
have a lot of people, because
Yeah.
Lansing Mall is a lot emptier than it was like growing up.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sad. I remember going there like during the holidays and just be bussing.
Yeah.
There'd be people everywhere. And
Yeah.
then now you walk in there like 2 days before Christmas and it's like dead.
Well, there's nothing there.
There's nothing
anymore.
there. It's
Yeah.
sad. Yeah, no, I've had UFC fighters on this podcast before.
Really?
Yeah, I've had Michael Gilmore, who's from the Lansing. Actually, he lives in Charlotte.
Okay.
He made his debut into the UFC from the show The Ultimate Fighter.
Oh, I've
And-
seen that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So he was on. His wife was on.
Oh, wow.
And then I had this is probably the biggest guest I've ever had on. His name's Kevin Ross. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
Okay.
And he's a Muay Thai fighter.
Oh, nice.
And he's a world champion, like several-time world champion Muay Thai
Yeah.
fighter.
That's
And
dope.
what's kind of cool about this is I got to meet him last year, like around this time.
Yeah.
And got to meet him and got his phone number. Like
Yeah.
now we're friends. Like he messaged me on my
That's so
birthday
cool.
on
Yeah.
Facebook and was like, "Hey man, happy birthday." I was like, "That's so cool." Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, so I like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool. So,
No, I'll have to. You're gonna have to meet a lot of these. I would even push you to have some of these people on your
Yeah, I would love to.
podcast. Yeah,
I would love
St.
to.
Paul Benavides. I give him a lot of credit. I consider him one of my mentors, because he was actually my Chicano Latino advisor when I was at Everett. I went to
okay.
Everett. Yep. So yeah, and he was. I want to give him credit too, also for kind of opening my eyes to going to college. He had this thing called Latinos to College, where essentially you'd gather all the Latinos from all like the high schools and take them to MSU. That's where I remember going and like seeing people that look like me in positions where they're like, oh, admissions counselor or director of migrant student services.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a powerful thing that makes
Yeah.
you want to work towards that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep. So he's just one of the many people, and even like these small business owners, like I said, they're fascinating what they've been through. Everybody's story is a little bit different, but the mindset of immigrant, like that's what it boils down to. It's just wanting better for yourself, wanting better for whatever, if you have family or not,
Yeah.
legacy you leave behind.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what every immigrant wants, right?
Yeah.
They just want a better life. They want I don't know, it's crazy because like I think about it like we are so entitled here in the United States, like being from here, like people that are actually don't have any heritage elsewhere, and
Yeah.
they're just born and raised here don't like we take everything for granted, and including myself. You know, it's so easy to. It's so easy because we have things great here in America. Like you don't think about how desolate it is in other countries. Like I have siblings in Honduras that struggle. Like they can't get, they can't get food. They struggle for food. They struggle for clothing. They struggle for all these things.
Yeah.
They don't have cell phones. Like they have cell phones, but it's like, like you got to pay for like minutes and stuff. Like it's not like you can just get on Facebook at any point in time or look at things up on Google whenever you want. Like it's
we're so spoiled here.
Extremely spoiled, and we don't think about that.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember where I was going with that point.
No, I love that you brought that up though, because and it's funny because I'm in an interracial marriage. My husband's white, and we talk about this stuff all the time because like I always joke with him, because I don't mean any offense by it, but I'm just like, you have no culture, 'cause you grew up here, because he never really identified with anything, he just did his
right.
What is it called, ancestry, DNA,
like
and
23andMe type of thing.
Yeah, he got his genetics done essentially, and he's 23% English, so I call him my English muffin. But but it's just funny because not that there wasn't any interest, but like you just grew up knowing you're white, and that's the gist that I get from him. That's kind of his whole spiel, But like I got the opportunity to take him and my son to Mexico 2 years ago now. So that was an eye-opening experience for them because it's obvious that it's like I want to say second world country. I mean, you see like when people live poor, they're like they live poor. You see homeless here, but it's so much different there. But
I see homeless with phones, smartphones.
Here, I know.
And they're fat. Like, no.
No, and you don't see that over there. I mean, you see kids that are on the street. They should be in school, but they're selling gum or helping their parents, whatever they're selling. They're washing windshields and stuff like that because they're trying to make money.
Right.
I'm like, I think that was very eye opening for both my husband, but my son as well, because he was 8 at the time. No, he was 7. So for him to see that, and question that and like see how good you have it here, like, oh man, this is why my parents came over here, so we didn't see that. But I feel like we're almost sheltered from what's really going on in the world.
Yeah.
That's happening now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I don't know if you've seen the movie, what's it called? The Sound of Freedom. Did you watch that?
No, I want to.
That's a huge eye opener, like to what other cultures go through. I mean, we obviously have sex trafficking here in America, but Hispanic cultures are being targeted down there because it's so much easier to just like swipe up children, because they promise these things like, oh well, if they could possibly become like get money for like, I don't know, like modeling and stuff, and obviously that's something they need down there is money. Like people need money and people need resources, and when you have people promising that and then they just take your children, like it's just, I don't know, that's a huge eye opener to like what it's like in other countries. Yeah, I don't know.
That hits home for me. Obviously now it's a parent, I can speak on that behalf, that perspective. It's like, because I actually seen, and this happened. It was like a lady that was walking with her son. She literally thought she was, he was behind her. Long story short, like these people stole him, like abducted him.
Was this here in the United States?
That was in Mexico.
Wow.
And she, they put up pretty much like the equivalent of what an Amber Alert is here. They found him like a day later in a van, and like the people had to cut his body open.
Oh my gosh.
To stuff him with drugs, and like basically that's what they were sending.
He's gonna be like a mule.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. So that was very sad. Like I remember crying. I got very emotional when I seen that because like I have a son. Like,
right.
And he was 7 years old. So man, that's a tearjerker. Yeah.
That was kind of my point. Is like the security that we have here in the United States. Obviously, it varies depending on where you are in the country. But like here in Lansing, like you don't typically have to worry about. You do have to worry about your kids, but you don't have to. You don't have that constant threat. And I don't know what it's like in Mexico. You don't have like the cartel here. You don't have to worry about that stuff.
Yeah, and it's not like that everywhere. I know people, and you see Narcos Mexico now, so you're like, oh, like they're everywhere. And I'm sure there are. Like I'm sure there are, but at least in Oaxaca where I grew up, it's very safe. But like anywhere, you take precautions, especially
Right.
if you're traveling by yourself, and especially if you're a woman and you're a woman with kids traveling, because that's pretty common nowadays. You know, they go with their kids and spend a month there. At least that was in my family. But yeah, no, it's a real thing, and yeah, like you said, I just think that we have it so good, and I don't know. If there's something that I can do to help somebody's life, be better,
Yeah.
and what I do, what I can do, or connecting people. I think that's a beautiful thing too.
Yeah,
Like
absolutely.
right now we're talking about other people that like, hey, you need to talk to them,
Right.
but like,
Yeah.
you don't know how we can collaborate in the future.
Right. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. Who knows? I might sponsor one of your events one day.
Right. Yep.
Never know. So before we wrap this up, I look at you as like a community leader, like in the Hispanic community, because like I've obviously you're like involved in all these different events. You're trying to like progress that community here in Lansing. What we've talked a little bit about like your goals and everything for the Hispanic community, but what would you like to see, like kind of in a nutshell, what would you like to see come out of all of that? What would you like to see come out of the events that you have coming up? What would you like to see that like overall as like somebody in the Hispanic community, what would you like, what would you like to like, I don't know, see like come out of it, I guess.
A lot. I want to see progress, right? Progress can mean so much. It entices so many things. But for me personally, I want to see a community that has each other's backs, and that's the gist of what I want to see, right? Like I mentioned to you that I was sitting down, with local business owners, and I hear that there's a need, but like nobody's doing anything about it. So and I know that people want to do something, but sometimes they don't know how to get involved. But it's simply, like organizing these types of events because people see that there's something going on, there's something positive, and people want to be a part of that too. Just like there's a lot of bad things that are going on in the world right now. I think for me, it's even more important to put up positive stuff. If I can make a positive impact on somebody, because that can change somebody's life. I don't know, maybe they feel like they haven't made a difference, up to now in their life, but they want to be a part of the bigger goal here. So for me, it's just seeing a united Latino front. Doesn't matter, you speak Spanish or not, but we have a commonality that whether you're first generation, third generation, like our ancestors, we all had a different struggle. They it goes way back, right? But yeah, essentially that's what I want to see. I want to see a community that it has each other's back. Like if we have an event that's going on, like they're also helping share, spread the word out too, because we want to see everybody together. Because there's strength in numbers. There's strength in unity, and I don't think one person can can do a lot. But if there's a lot of people, that are working towards one common goal, I think we can move mountains.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Is there anything else before we wrap it up?
No, just would love to see everybody at the 517 Hispanic Heritage Weekend. Again, that's September 22nd to the 24th. Big day is going to be the 23rd, downtown Lansing. And then the Latino Business Expo, October 7th. So I hope to see you there.
Yeah. And the links for all of that will be in the show notes. So.
Okay, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.